Pat, and Pat will read out and relay his message to you, the public, in the hope that you will vote for him this Saturday.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm doing this on Monday, the 3rd of February, and I'm sorry for being so late about doing this, but it was only after myself reading out the declaration at the Mansion House on the 21st, on Independence Day, 21st of January last, that a lot of people said, would I run in the constituency here? And I said, yeah, that I would, because I spent more than half my working life here as an advocate in the past 4 years in Dublin Central. I've advocated around the country for a number of years now, and my fight is basically a fight for to let people know that their fundamental rights are being abused. And I know that so well because I'm in the courts so often, and I really realize that most of the problems we have at the moment stem from the fact that our fundamental rights are being abused, trashed, and rubbished by the present government. And we need to do something about it because if we don't, they're going to walk all over us further and further. And it's like we're asleep. And I just want people to realize that the most important right of all is the right to life. And from that right to life is the right to liberty. And liberty equates to freedom. And freedom means absence of restraint. And that applies to all our other rights that we want to access from the government based on our Constitution: home, health, housing, welfare, education, and so on. And if they are restrained in any way, we are being deprived and abused. This is far superior to any laws that are made by man, which only come in second place. And this is what I want to help people be empowered. I am here to help people empower themselves to say, no, you're standing on my rights, you're treading on my rights, my fundamental rights. Now, this is my message, which it's written out and it's up on the website, but I'm reading this for the benefit of people that may have reading difficulties, eyesight problems. I'm getting a little older myself. Thankfully, my sight is good, but I do know a lot of people in my age group, I'm 67, that do have cataracts and other problems. So I realize, and unfortunately people that are blind or nearly blind, that it is so important that sometimes the spoken word is there to assist them. They need it more than anyone. So I have this in 7 paragraphs, and I'll just show it here to the camera. And so for many years now, this is my message to all the voters here in Dublin Central, and I've walked the constituency last Saturday and other days, and I've met quite a lot of people, and people are interested in what I have to say. So for many years now, successive government elected TDs from the established political party machines, Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, Labour, Sinn Féin, have been gradually working on undermining and stripping away the fundamental rights of the people guaranteed under the Constitution to get access to public service when they need them, and that is why we have waiting lists. This present government and their Fianna Fáil predecessors have become dictators and our masters, undermining our right to speak out against injustices heaped upon us every day. These past governments, and in particular this present administration, which I call their government, is comprised of tribal civil service power groups who are abusing us, the people of this nation, by making laws more or less secretly away from the eyes of the public, which basically puts us on our knees begging for public services and transparency. which we are entitled to have without having to resort to employing solicitors and barristers to bring legal action in court. This is the divide and conquer strategy that as a people we were subjected to as the oppressed Irish under the Crown for hundreds of years past until the time of revolution and uprising in 1916. I might just mention here aside that my mother was a Cumann. She was born in 1922 and is now a political prisoner. The result is that our lives and our families are torn apart by distress, financial burdens, evictions, homelessness, and insecurity, with many resorting to addictive drugs and suicide. From this, mental health issues associated with the financial crash of the property market in 2007 to 2009 are evident all throughout central Dublin, with soup kitchens feeding the homeless who are sleeping rough. In 1916, our forefathers and ancestors made a stand, and the people said loud and clear to the Crown, "We are not taking it anymore." But at this present time in 2020, we are still being abused by our own elected TDs and state agencies. At this time, on this general election day coming forth on the 8th of February, we the people again need to make a stand for a change, to depart from party politics as usual. We need more transparency and accountability from the state for the denial to the people of our basic fundamental rights under the Constitution. Many voters and people do not understand that we, the people, are the sovereign nation and have the final say over their government, meaning the present government. In fact, the Irish state, as it is commonly known when dealing with the European Union and other external countries, is in second place as a sovereign state only. That means the people are up here and the state is below us. The power of the people under the Constitution to have their say, and the final say, ranks first in priority. And let us not sleep on our rights. Let us assert our rights for change, to get what we, the people, our children, our elderly family members, our grandchildren, and future generations are entitled to without begging on our hands and knees. Let us demand a new fourth branch of government comprised of a citizens' council elected to act with powers to sanction, reprimand, and dismiss from office those who will not do their job. This fourth branch would be a watchdog over the other three branches of government, the legislative, the executive, and judicial, and would be known as the verificative, a new word coined by myself and others in October 2019, which derives from the term to verify. My mandate for change, if elected to the Dáil, is targeted at the government ministries and bodies to make them act responsibly and accountably within 3 working days maximum for the following problems that face every one of us working people: the homeless, the unemployed, the infirm, the elderly, the disabled, the student, the child, the defense forces, the fishermen, self-employed, small businesses, nurses, doctors, healthcare workers, and small farmers. Now, this was the one of the initial leaflets that we brought about in Belfast in October to make a worldwide initiative. We brought it to Belfast because of the fact that this part of the world exhibited so much troubles and they need to have a people's council. So we thought it was appropriate there. And this is what it is here, there. And it's an initiative to implement change in the norms inherent in democratic governments worldwide, which usually have 3 branches comprising of executive, legislative, and judicial branches. And it comes about as a result of the abuse of powers by government in regard to the vindication of citizens' people's universal fundamental human rights, underperformance for delivery of services, corruption and collusion to delay and deny rightful entitlement to deny access to services for basic needs by means of forming mutually exclusive government self-interest tribes that undermine family and moral boundaries. We're in a pre-fascism era of trial runs by denial of these services, of getting the people used to being deprived, which they are legally entitled to have these services without a lawful excuse. And it's undermining the freedom of democratic right of expression to voice one's opinion by use of the judiciary to gag and silence those who speak out publicly about injustice and unfairness meted out to those affected. So what has happened in the courts, and aside here, and my experience is the courts put orders on everyone, gagging orders, so that these disgraceful actions that are going on by state agencies, abusing people's fundamental rights, are kept secret. Now, this fourth branch of government would be known as the vericative branch and would be comprised of elected members of citizen peoples, forming a council to oversee the abuses, underperformance, and or denial of fundamental and legal rights by the other three branches of government. Its mandate would come from the citizen people by way of a referendum. So, like-minded people, we would put bills before the Oireachtas and ask that at some stage there would be a referendum put to the people to bring in a fourth branch of government to oversee the other three branches. That about wraps up this part of my message, except that many people have probably seen on the website already. This Citizens Alliance of People could encompass any voters, any people for change. And this is what we would seek to achieve, more transparency. But the important thing is letting the citizens, people, have their say and the final say. Thank you very much, and I would appreciate your vote, and I'll work hard, very hard, and fight every day like I do in the courts, but I'll change my place of fighting to the Dáil.